negative. The latest Omicron subvariant has triggered a spike in cases in the United States at least 2 weeks ago. Experts have warned of the sublineage, which spreads 25% faster than the Omicron BA.2 variant. No data yet on whether it could cause more severe infection. The DOH reminds the public to be on alert and follow health protocols. Good news now for commuters here in Metro Manila. Free rides at the MRT3 extended for another month. The train management hopes the extension will further increase ridership. Tristan Odalo reports.
Efren Nathan commutes from Mandaluyong to Quezon City on a daily basis. Working as a messenger, he says the free MRT ride has been a big help to him and his family.
Kung ma-extend, mas malaking tulong sa amin na nagsasahod lang ng minimum araw-araw. Kagaya sa amin na mga minimum earning lang sa bawat araw, dapat libre na kami o magkaroon ng exempt na lang kami sa MRT.
Efren says he saves at least 32 pesos a day that goes straight to their daily food budget.
Pag mga weekend, kasi Sabado, Linggo, walang pasok, pwede magpadagdag biling mga ulam-ulam. Lahat na po, tumataas eh. Lahat. Halos ibang pamasahe na rin kahit sa jeep. Minsan, 9 pesos. Minsan, pagbigay ka 10 pesos, minsan wala na rin sukli.
Elderly couple Norma and Ben also welcomed the news extending MRT's free ride program until May 30th.
Nakakatulong po sa ating mamamayan yan kasi nga, dahil mahirap yung buhay natin. Eh, syempre, malaking pagbo sa mga tao.
Tutuwa ko kami sa mga nagaganap ngayon. Dahil libre.
Kahit
pa konti-konti.
The MRT3 management says over 7 million passengers have benefited from the free ride program since its rolled out on March 28. Average daily ridership during the program ranges from 250,000 to 300,000 passengers. Apart from helping commuters minimize their expenses, the program also hopes to increase the MRT ridership to 350,000.
Para maisama natin ang konting gastusin natin dahil tumataas ang ating mga presyo ng bilihin. And at the same time, makita nyo rin po yung diferensya ng MRT3 matapos ang rehabilitation program natin. At pakiusap lang po natin ay continue nating sumunod sa mga health protocols. Yan naman po ay para rin sa inyong aming mga suking pasahero at para rin po maiwasan natin yung pag-spread ng COVID-19.
So far, the fully rehabilitated MRT has no record of unloading incident according to its general manager. Commuters can avail of the free ride program using their beep cards or by requesting a single journey pass from the ticket counters. The MRT3 management vows to continue implementing health protocols to stop the spread of COVID-19 amid its implementation of its free ride program. Meantime, random antigen testing will still be carried out in select MRT stations. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Just 12 days before the Filipino votes, Vice President Leni Robredo drops Mig Zubiri from her Senate slate. Robredo spokesperson Barry Gutierrez says Zubiri's open endorsement of another candidate led to the decision. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno vows not to implement any more COVID-19 lockdowns if he wins the presidency. Moreno says the tourism sector needs to bounce back from pandemic losses and the country should prepare amid rising global infections.
2 years is enough. Why? 2 years is enough. I want us to understand the COVID. That very cycle surge. May pagtaas, may pagbaba. May paglakas, may pagbaba. What matters most is
Speaking in the city of Ormoc, Senator Ping Lacson said there is no need to expand the mandate of the Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG, which was created to go after the ill-gotten wealth of the family of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos.
Kung gagawin i-expand, meron naman tayong PACC na, di ba? Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission. And meron tayong ombudsman, meron tayong Sangligan Bayan. And meron tayong ombudsman, anybody who becomes president can create by way of an executive order to one agency na gusto i-create to address specific problems or issues.
Bongbong Marcos is worried about what he says are the COMEX changing stories on the data security breach involving Smartmatic. Over the weekend, authorities arrested 3 hackers who were supposedly behind the Smartmatic breach and who claim they can manipulate election results.
Nung una, wala. Napaself-sabi nila, may nagdala ng computer. Tapos dahil may nakita na naman, may security breach nga, pero hindi importante yung mga nakuha, informasyon. Tapos lumalabas sa dark web. Yung informasyon na kinuha, it's not unimportant. So, these are the things that I worry about. And these are the things that tinututukan namin to make sure na hindi na maulit at hindi na wala nang gagawin na mapapawasan na ang possibility na malapit na pandarayang possibility.
Marcos insists he was cheated in the 2016 vice presidential race, even if the Supreme Court already junked his protest against Robredo. Our exclusive one-on-one series of interviews with presidential candidates continues. Speaking to our senior correspondent and anchor Ruth Cabal in private, Bongbong Marcos shared some details of his personal life, from childhood to his wife and the role of his mother in his campaign. Let's meet your house details.
Liza Araneta Marcos is showing up more in the campaign rallies of her husband Bongbong. Bongbong gives a hint on what will be Liza's role in his administration should he win the presidency.
Ayaw niya nasa public capacity. She wants to be independent in the sense now. She's working privately to help the educational systems.
Bongbong also answered the question on whether or not his mother Imelda was the one who pushed him to pursue his presidential bid. Bongbong also says his mother wants to campaign for him, but they want her to stay home due to the pandemic.
Sasabihin nila, si mami tawag ng tawag. Kasi daw yung shirt mo hindi nakabuton o yung mikropono mo hindi ka marinig. Basta marami siyang comment. Talagang ano siya, conscious siya sa ganyan. So, yes, she's very, very, very involved in everything that we're doing. But the decision was mine. I really have to say that the decision was mine.
Bongbong revealed he was avoiding politics when he was young, and he wanted to be an astronaut or musician. But it seems he is fated to enter politics.
You would always say na malaking influence ng dad niyo, and your mom. Pero meron po ba kayong differences with your father, or can you remember a time na you had a disagreement?
No. He's the boss. You don't disagree. If he tells you, because he's always right anyway. As far as our situation, hindi naman nagkakamali, hindi naman magbibigay ng bad advice yun.
Marcos also admits he lived a comfortable life in Malacanang. He was only 8 when he first resided at the palace.
You're a little spoiled to palace because anything, especially as a kid. I remember the first night that we spent there. It was New Year's Eve. And we were allowed to stay up late kami mga bata. Somebody came in and said, is there anything you want? And nagtinginan kami. Sa amin, yung pinakamalaking treat sa amin, fried chicken. Fried chicken, hingit tayo fried chicken. Ba, binigyan talaga kami. Alauna ng umaga, binigyan kami ng fried chicken. Sabi ko,
Marcos said his parents were always telling them that all the things that they have are from the people, something that they need to work hard for and give back to them. Rex Remitio, CNN Philippines.
Tonight at 8, Isko Moreno meets with our senior anchor, Pinky Webb, in private. The Manila mayor shares his experiences on the campaign trail, as well as his plans should he lose the race.
Sometimes you get frustrated, sometimes you're in jubilation. It's a daily thing. No? Talagang hindi siya pare-pareho everyday. Hindi naman ako mawawalan ng loob pagka wala na ako sa gobyerno. It's just that I look for another purpose in life. But if you want to get things done, that is me. I may not be the perfect fit to the presidency. But when I work, I put my heart on it.
CNN Philippines also caught up with presidential hopeful Manny Pacquiao. Catch that in private conversation tomorrow, also at 8 in the evening. More news after the break. COMELEC wraps up day one of voting for thousands of Filipinos who are on duty on Election Day. And we take you to El Nido in Palawan, where tourists prove that it is more fun in the Philippines. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. Welcome back. Beginning today until Friday, select members of the military, police, and media, as well as teachers with election-related duties, may cast their ballots some 2 weeks ahead of other voters. Our Melissa Lopez was among those who availed of local absentee voting. Here's how it went.
Voting has started for some 84,000 Filipinos on Wednesday. Here at the COMELEC National Capital Region office, nearly 1,000 media workers are expected to vote in 3 days. They are the first to vote in the country for the May polls. At 8 a.m., members of the Special Electoral Board composed of COMELEC employees opened the 3-day local absentee voting. COMELEC workers at the main office in Intramuros, Manila also cast their ballots in special voting precincts like this one on the 8th floor. The session hall has been converted into a polling place for Chairman Saidamen Pangarungan and Commissioner Amy Neri. The process began on time at the annex building, but a line quickly formed as media members show up to vote. They say it was smooth sailing.
Masaya kasi pagdating ng election day, focus na tayo sa trabaho natin dahil di na natin iisipin na kailangan pa nating bumoto.
May konting lang syempre, parang i-remind ka ulit ng procedure, and then better kung may dala kang kodigo. Maybe siguro gawin nilang 4 days, I suppose. That would be more convenient.
A voter must bring an ID to confirm identity and go through temperature check. If it's above 37.5 degrees Celsius or showing COVID-19 symptoms, the voter goes to an isolation area. Otherwise, it's direct to the precinct. A manual ballot must be filled out by listing the names of chosen candidates by hand. The position to vote for are President, Vice President, 12 senators, and 1 party list group. The voter must affix the thumb mark, secure the ballot in 2 sealed envelopes, and insert it in the ballot box. There's no indelible ink on the voter's finger. An official says it's unnecessary.
Yung namang indelible ink is intended to avoid a possible double voting by the same absentee voters. Dito naman, if you will double vote, definitely you cannot, because we'll only have this one master list of your company na nag-apply dito.
COMELEC is optimistic about turnout among absentee voters. Precincts are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. until Friday, April 29th. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
Well, so far, so good. That is COMELEC's assessment on day 1 of local absentee voting. Top tourism experts from around the world are taking notice of how fast the travel industry is picking up. What makes Philippine tourism stand out after all this time? Senior correspondent Lois Calderon shows us the answers as she takes us to one of the world-class island destinations in the country.
The boom times have returned for Philippine tourism, and the praises are coming from CEOs and top global travel executives who went sailing around this paradise in the northern tip of Palawan, El Nido. El Nido's vast stretch of lagoons offered the VIPs a kayaking experience they say is different in that these coastal lagoons are sheltered by tall limestone cliffs that easily rival Thailand. Separate from the open sea, this long sandbar at Snake Island is great for snorkeling, with glass-like waters and a pure white sandy bottom. And Talula Island is also surrounded by crystalline waters. The adventures in the archipelago are not just underwater. Visitors can try spelunking in Kudugnon Cave, with tour guides repeating the folklore of the lost Yamashita treasure. In Minilok Island, authentic music from the indigenous people of Palawan, the Cuyonon, greet visitors. Apart from sights and sounds, there is a taste of local cuisine, fresh catch from the sea.
I really have to mention how hospitable people are. It's something you don't get everywhere, and it's one of the best things I have experienced.
The El Nido Marine Reserve is a protected area under a 1998 presidential proclamation that covers 89,000 hectares and 45 islands with their surrounding waters. Before that, illegal and dynamite fishing threatened the area's rich coral garden. Some abandoned the illegal practice and became marine life advocates. Since 2017, Ryan Canizares has been raising funds for mooring buoys like these to replace heavy boat anchors to avoid damaging the reef.
During the time na nagpipeak na yung El Nido, so lumalawak yung damage ng anchorage na everyday use, maraming turista, maraming nagtutour. Yung mga boats, boatmans, kung saan-saan lang sila nagtatapon ng mga anchors nila.
Environment experts like Christopher Imsen explains why hiring locals in the tourism business
good for the people that live in the local destination. That's when you have tourism that is worth something.
The archipelago has so much to offer both to local tourists and foreigners, but its abundant resources are finite. In El Nido, people and nature converge and exist for each other in an ecosystem whose balance must be sustained. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
Catch the second part of this story from Lois Calderon tomorrow to know how we can keep a sustainable blue economy through the waters of El Nido in Palawan. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, updates on superhero films with the Batman 2 getting the green light. Plus, Miss Universe Philippines contestants show up their Q&A skills in preliminary interviews. You're watching CNN Philippines. Welcome back. More action ahead for PBA teams against a select French squad for exhibition matches here in the country. The scrimmages are set for the first week of September, right before Gilas Pilipinas takes on China for the Asian Games. French ambassador to the Philippines, Michel Bochoz, made the suggestion after witnessing the thrilling Game 3 of the Governor's Cup finals between Ginebra and Meralco. On to the race for the Miss Universe Philippines crown. Candidates' wits were tested in today's preliminary interviews. From questions on their childhood to funny experiences, we got a glimpse of the delegates' personalities, while other questions were about how candidates could inspire other women. Another highly anticipated event tonight for our 32 candidates, the evening gown and swimsuit competition for preliminaries begin 7 p.m. at the Cove, Manila, in Parañaque. In the movies, great news for fans of the Caped Crusader. The Batman is officially getting a sequel. Robert Pattinson will reprise his role as the Dark Knight, with Matt Reeves directing again. Warner Brothers made the announcement at CinemaCon 2022 in the U.S. state of Las Vegas. In the U.S. state of Nevada. And Grammy-winning rapper Bad Bunny will be the first Latino to lead a Marvel live-action film. The Puerto Rican singer-actor is set to play El Muerto in the Sony Spider-Man universe, a character who became both nemesis and ally to Spidey in the comics. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
After 2 long years, we finally get to enjoy a summer with eased COVID-19 restrictions. But with the sweltering weather comes a number of diseases we need to protect ourselves from. For example, a heat stroke is a potentially fatal condition that can happen when you spend too many hours under the sun. On the program today, we'll talk more about these heat-related illnesses, their warning signs, and how best to prevent as well as treat them. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. The Department of Health warns against a number of conditions amid the rising temperatures this summer season. Our guests are here today to tell us how we can protect ourselves and our families against them, and how we can spend our summer days safe as well as healthy. With us is Dr. Helen Ong Garcia. She's a cardiologist from St. Luke's Medical Center Global and Quezon City. Also with us is Dr. Joanne Liboon. She's a family medicine specialist from the Ala Valley Medical Center Incorporated. Now, more and more people are spending their days outdoors as COVID-19 cases decrease just in time for the summer season. But this also means that people are more vulnerable to some heat-related illnesses. Now, I'd like to start the discussion with Dr. Helen. When it comes to the summertime, obviously heat will be the factor that will make people more at risk for some of these conditions. One of these is, of course, heat exhaustion. Now, when it comes to heat exhaustion, some people like to exercise, some people like to sweat it out, and they get tired. Is this the same as heat exhaustion?
The body has a natural way of what we call thermoregulating. So if you're healthy, you're able to actually put in enough fluids versus what's going out. You should not actually experience heat exhaustion. But heat exhaustion, as the word is exceeding what is normal. So there should be an imbalance that occurred that caused you to lose a lot of water and salt, making you do excessive sweating, and exercise could do that. And there are other comorbids that could actually predispose you to that. So heat exhaustion is not a natural sweating mechanism. It's an extreme sweating mechanism due to the hot weather.
It's good that you mentioned water and salt. How are these two elements? A lot of people are aware about water, but how is salt integral in the thermoregulation of a person?
People always think that sweat is water alone. When you sweat, several elements, one of them is commonly salt, do come out, sometimes potassium, and water is actually part of sweat. So excessive release of water, salt, and even some of the other minerals without replacement actually cause an imbalance that could actually cause heat exhaustion.
Dr. Joanne, when it comes to the summertime, obviously the heat is greater at this time of year. But is the sun the factor here? Or can people undergo these conditions, heat exhaustion, and worse, of course, heat stroke, even if they are not exposed to the sun?
Additional with the heat exhaustion, it develops over several days pwede because of the exposure, too much exposure sa sun. Isa pa din yung unbalanced replacement of the the fluid loss in the fluid intake. Yung problema din, yung what is lost in our body na fluid at gano'n din kadami pumapasok sa katawan natin. Isa din yun ang fact yung fluid, the intake natin, na pwedeng mag-cause din for cause ng exhaustion po.
Since binanggit nyo yung fluid intake, Dr. Joanne, when it comes to fluid intake, ano yung pinakamagandang fluids na dapat nasa loob ng katawan, especially kapag mainit na ang panahon?
Normally naman, for regular days, dapat nag-intake tayo ng at least 2 to 3 liters of water, standard water per day. But if we exercise or we do a lot of mas exhausting na activities, mas better tayo mag-replace ng mga electrolyte-containing na fluid. So we can, sports drinks, electrolyte replacements are also advised para lang mag-replace yung electrolytes din na lumalabas sa katawan natin aside from the fluid lang po.
Now, Dr. Helen, we all know that we have to be hydrated. Several glasses of water, especially during hotter days. But is there actually a case where you can drink too much water?
Depends on the condition that you have. Again, we will go and look back. If you have normal kidneys and normal heart condition, on a regular day, you're supposed to excrete it out. There's no problem with that. But then, for some people who have the decreased capacity to sweat, who have kidney function problem and also have heart condition problem, too much water is also bad because you can end up with congestion. So I would probably say a balanced act is needed. And of course, this will actually, for those with comorbid conditions, your doctor will be the best to advise you how much fluids are you allowed in every type of season that we have in the Philippines.
Dr. Joanne, sino-sino yung mga taong mas at risk, especially ngayon na summer days, na mas mataas ang init or ang temperature? Who are those most at risk to fall under these conditions ng heat-related illnesses?
The elderly people are the most high risk for this heat-related illnesses po. Kasi elderly people, those who mentioned ni Doc na mga may comorbids, may mga problems sa kidneys or any diseases na may iniinom na gamot na could affect also your fluid loss sa katawan or nagpapainit tayo in cases of mga cardiac disease and kidney diseases. Also, infants and children are also high risk for heat-related illnesses as well as yung mga taong pag-usapan natin yung mga trabaho naman, yung mga taong nagtatrabaho na exposed sa matagal na exposure sa sun. Ito yung, or may any person who's working under the sun for prolonged hours, tapos hindi nakapainom ng tubig, these are the people also that have high risk for heat-related illnesses.
So we've talked about heat exhaustion for that matter, but what exactly is a heat stroke? And what do you need to do if someone is experiencing one? More on this when we return. We're your partner in healthcare. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. In a tropical country like ours, where many of us are exposed to long hours under the sun, under the heat, we're more vulnerable to a number of heat-related illnesses. One of the most serious ones is heat stroke. Dr. Helen, could you tell us what exactly is heat stroke? Paano umaabot sa ganitong condition?
Heat stroke is one of the most dreaded phase of heat-related illnesses because we do have so simple. I mean, all of us are under the sun. All of us are actually exposed to hot environment. So the simplest is the one yung nagkaka-sunburn, nagkaka-rashes, or sometimes nagkakaroon ng heat cramps when you actually exercise under a very hot condition. And those are considered mild. Heat stroke is the severe one, wherein when you actually have an imbalance in the thermal regulation because of the severe heat that your body generated, you actually reach 39, actually 40 degrees in some literature. And after which, you actually have confusional states. You are, para kang na-stroke eh. My husband had heat stroke. So that's why I can see that it's something that you cannot detect immediately. You have confusional states. Some people actually lose consciousness. They're very hot. And some people actually develop seizures. And they are actually very scary. And the only way that you can deal with heat stroke is to bring them to the hospital.
Dr. Helen, is time a factor here? Is time of the essence kapag heat stroke na ang pinag-uusapan? And could you talk more about yung mga simptomas, some of the red flags that a person might exhibit kapag malapit na siya or nasa heat stroke stage na siya?
So the temperature per se is one. Number two is perhaps yung sinasabi ko, headache, nausea, vomiting, or kaya weaknesses. And subsequently, it's actually a little bit alarming now when they actually reach heat stroke. Because at the time when they reach heat stroke, confused na sila. They actually cannot recognize, they could bump into walls, and you bring them to the hospital. What are the first aid you should do? Lower the temperature. Give a little bit water kung kayang i-tolerate. Try to wipe until we can lower the temperature about 38 degrees. A little bit of ice or pack of ice on the, sa singit, sa kilikili. Those are the things we can do to actually as first aid for heat stroke or heat exhaustion.
Pwede bang at risk ang isang tao for heat stroke? Kahit na wala siya sa ilalim ng araw, hindi siya naglalakad sa labas. Say, naglilinis siya ng isang bodega with poor ventilation.
Pwede din po. Poor ventilation, low humidity na lugar, pwede din yung prone. Pag pangit yung ventilation, pag sobrang init, na ganun pa din, it could also lead to exhaustion or heat stroke. So it's very important actually pag sinasabi na hindi naman natin alam yung agad hindi natin ma-detect. It's very important na alam natin or may idea tayo kung ano nangyari prior dun sa nangyari sa pasyente na either nawala ng malay or nahilo or biglang tumaas ng temperature.
If you have a condition that might affect your ability to cope with extreme heat, it might help to check the heat index and constantly monitor how you're feeling throughout your time under the sun or under the effects of heat. Dr. Helen, we're talking about the really serious effects of heat stroke, but let's take a few steps back a little bit and talk about dehydration this time. So when it comes to dehydration, a lot of people may also not be aware that they are already dehydrated. Kumbaga, umiinom lang sila ng tubig kapag nauuhaw. Is this a good practice to do?
It depends on the activity that you do. But you're right, Dr. Freddy. Probably we don't want them na iinom ng pag nauuhaw because the body functions has a necessity in terms of how much water you should actually take in. And then if thirst comes in, it means you are already lacking. So the 6 to 8 glasses of water is best to be maintained for the normal individual. Now, if you have work that actually entails exposure to high humidity or high heat, or even under the sun, and coal mining, yung mga minero natin, those who work in kitchens that are in high heat, probably those who actually are working in the construction that are under the sun and probably under high heat too. They maybe have to increase the hydration they have to replace what was lost in the sweat and also what was evaporated due to their exposure to the heat.
Now, Dr. Helen, can dehydration also be seen probably in other things like the color of someone's urine? Is this could the color of someone's urine be a telltale sign of their level of dehydration?
Let's put it this way. Normal population, those with no comorbids, color of urine is actually a very good parameter to see because as long as you're hydrated, it should be light yellow, clear, hindi siya cloudy. But if, for example, you're dehydrated, automatically it becomes more cloudy and a bit darker. It might be a little bit on the orange side or a little bit on the coppery side, and you'll be a little bit worried. The amount of urine also matters because your urine is determined by the amount of fluid that you take in. So if you see that you are actually not urinating at all, you might need more fluids. You might not be giving your body enough fluids to actually replace what should be cleansing in terms of the urine.
Now, Dr. Joanne, when it comes to fluids na yung dapat nating inumin, we mentioned how much water people should take. But for these extra hot conditions, ang plain water ba ang best option natin when it comes to trying to prevent dehydration and more serious conditions?
For normal individuals who have no comorbidities or any cardiac problem or heart problem, those who are healthy individuals for exercising, who are having strenuous activities that are losing electrolytes, it's also best advice na pwede tayo mag-fluid replacement or yung electrolyte replacement. So there are available in the market that could also be drunk by these patients or these individuals to replace also the electrolyte that has been lost inside their body.
As with most conditions, prevention is the best cure. When we return, we'll talk about ways to protect ourselves and our loved ones from heat-related illnesses. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk. Over the last few months, the Philippines experienced a record high heat index in some parts of the country. And as we brace for even hotter weather, there are steps we need to take to protect ourselves from heat-related illness. Nowadays, we need to practice proper hygiene and wear masks to protect ourselves from COVID-19. Dr. Joanne, but what precautions can we take to prevent heat-related illnesses naman?
Very important always, we should go out in the sun pag hindi masyadong sobrang mainit. Very important din yan. Isa din sa bagay is we have to protect ourselves. So, sa panahon ng init, we advise people na before lumabas ng bahay, dapat very comfortable yung clothes, hindi sobrang mainit kasi pwede din yung mag-cause additional na fluid loss. Pwede tayong for aside doon sa heat exhaustion or heat stroke, pwede din tayo magka-heat rash, magka-sunburn. So it's better that we use an umbrella. Meron tayong wide brim hats. And very important, pag lumalabas tayo, we make sure it exposed tayo sa under sun, dehydrate ourselves well enough.
Now, Dr. Helen, summertime, a lot of people are out doing their sports, out and about, and one popular drink during these times while doing sports is the sports energy drink. What are some of the risks that these who use sports energy drinks during high heat environments, what should they know or what should they watch out for that matter?
I like to qualify those two types of drinks that actually athletes do drink when they actually conduct sports. One is the sports energy drink, which I think contains some stimulants and those to boost energy. The others are actually what we call electrolyte balanced drinks, and they're available in the market, for which they are fashioned so that they could sustain your hydration during the exercise. Those are two different things. For energy boost drinks that are meant to improve your activity by stimulants, I would probably say no, if you are actually not used to it, because in the first place, they could increase your heart rate. And when your heart rate increases, so does your blood pressure. Your heat and generating capacity of the body also increase, making you more prone to sweat, making you more prone to a high heat energy condition, and therefore to heat stroke if you don't hydrate well.
What about those who enjoy an alcoholic beverage? While this may be refreshing, does this put an undue stress to the body, to the heart?
They're not actually a very good combination. The weather, the alcohol, and the exercise, because you dance. That's what you do in Boracay, right? Because your thermoregulatory, the ability of the body to adjust your body fluid is affected by alcohol. Number two, it could mask some symptoms. I mentioned headache is one of the symptoms, sometimes confusional states, if you're actually undergoing a heat stroke. So that's why we don't really advise you to actually take a lot of alcohol under hot weather, not unless you hydrate well. And again, pre-planning. I'm not saying don't enjoy, but pre-plan. Make sure you know that alcohol makes you sweat more, makes you do a lot of things more, and it could mask some symptoms. So make sure you're hydrated.
With these precautions, there's no reason we can't enjoy the summer season safely. Thank you, cardiologist Dr. Helen Ong Garcia and family medicine specialist Dr. Joanne Libon, for being with us today. We appreciate your time and your insight. But before we end, did you know that a 2021 study found that children's screen time increased during the pandemic? From an average of over 2 hours per day, it has now increased to an average of nearly 6 hours. In 2020, the Department of Health warned that students may experience mental and physical health concerns related to increased screen time, such as fatigue, headache, lack of motivation, avoidance, and procrastination. While online classes have become the norm, Andre Felix shows us a smart learning solution that will help young learners study better without compromising their health. Let's watch this.
The Ideapad offers smart learning solutions perfect for students studying from home. Tell us about these solutions.
What we have here is the Lenovo Ideapad Slim 3i. So we have the 14-inch and the 15-inch. And as well as the Slim 5i, they're both part of our thin and light portfolio. And they're powered by the Intel Core i processors and Windows 11. We have three main key aspects of the software. Let's start with super resolution. When you toggle it on, it basically upscales that video. You also have number 2, smart AI noise cancelling. You can set it up so that it will only pick up the voices from in front of the laptop. We also have Lenovo Aware. It's a collection of 4 different functions. You have attention reminders, break reminders, posture and distance reminders. So part also of the smart learning suite is we also have smart Wi-Fi, smart background blur, and then you also have smart login. And then finally you have Lenovo iCare. LCD panels have low blue light technology built into these screens.
Why do you think it's important for parents to provide devices with such technology to their children, especially with the new normal that we're in right now?
We have more screen time than ever. Not only us as the professionals, but even our kids. It's important for them to still monitor their health and make sure that they're productive, but still their well-being should be prioritized as well. For interested consumers, they can go to their nearest Lenovo Experience stores in their favorite malls. They can check out Lenovo Philippines official page in Lazada and Shopee.
As we adjust and continue to cope with the new normal, the Lenovo Ideapad Slim 3i and the Ideapad Slim 5i can be the learner's companion as they realize their full potential.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this has been Med Talk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.
Radio Ronda Zamboanga.